everyone, it's Jamie with homeschool.com, and we're going to do a quick session today on how to get started homeschooling. I've had a lot of questions from new homeschoolers about the easiest way to get started, and so we're going to go over those today. I've got several steps that anyone can do. These aren't hard steps, these aren't difficult. You can do them and you can homeschool, and you can homeschool well. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to share my screen. There we are. All right. So how to start homeschooling in 6 easy steps that you can do. Well, the first thing that we need to do when we begin homeschooling is let's go over them. There's 6 steps. We're going to go over them real quick. Research your state homeschool requirements. Fulfill what's needed before you go ahead and get started. Because sometimes these are laws and we don't want to break the law. You want to make sure that you've got that covered. Discover how you want to homeschool and write down your big why. We're going to get into that more in just a minute. Get to know how your child learns, find out their strengths and learning preferences, and then use them in your homeschool. This is how we motivate our children. These are very important. A lot of people don't think about these 2 middle steps here. And then you go ahead and start researching a homeschool curriculum that aligns with what you've worked on already, those first 3 steps. Then start to plan your homeschool year. And this includes your goals and a schedule. This is the practical side of homeschooling. And don't forget to keep good homeschooling records. You need to keep a grade book, report cards, transcripts, things like that. But we are going to talk about alternatives to that as well. All right, so we're going to dig a little deeper on each of those steps. So let's look at the first one, which is the state homeschooling laws. And of course, this is very important because these are laws. We don't want to mess around with this. So every new homeschool parent really does need to dig in, do the research, spend the time, find out exactly what your state requires of you. Now, homeschool.com, because we are not lawyers or give legal advice in any way, we have collected a page full of links to the state homeschool information, and we've tried to link out to the state websites. And you know, sometimes, I'm just going to say it, sometimes they just don't update those pages, and they might pass a law. And that law, I've seen it before. It's been in effect for maybe a year or so, and they still haven't updated it. So I would look at the state pages, but also kind of poke around at a few other places. A to Z Homeschooling has state pages, and they really work hard every year to try to make sure they have the most updated information. Also, the HSLDA website has really good state law information. So you can start with our page. It's right here, right at the top of our homepage under Getting Started. And you can look at what your state Department of Education pages say and then move on from there. But some states have some serious requirements, and you want to make sure that you take time and put your full attention to those. Then we have other states that are absolutely amazing, and they have very little requirements. So it's just a good idea to take the time to dig in and to look at those. Now, I've got a couple extra little tips here that I just want to throw out. Sometimes this is very important to know your state laws, because sometimes when you go to your local school district, or maybe you even visit your child's school, there may be individuals that try to intimidate you. They may tell you that you are required to do things that you are not required to do. They may request for additional information from you that you do not have to provide. And so that is why it's very important for you to know your state homeschool laws very well. Know exactly what's required of you and do not give them more than what is required. We all know sometimes people, they don't like homeschooling, and so they may just try to discourage you from doing that. But if you know your state laws, it won't be an issue. Okay, let's look at the next one. Discover how. All right, how are we going to homeschool? How are we going to learn? How are we going to teach? How are we going to organize all this stuff to be a process that works for us? Well, before you can dive into the nitty-gritty of the hows, you really do need to nail down and get straight your why. Why are you homeschooling? Why do you think homeschooling would be a good fit for you and your family? Are you and your spouse on the same page with this whole idea of homeschooling? Are your children with you on this idea of homeschooling and getting started? That's a very important first step, because everybody in the family unit needs to be like-minded. They need to be to be together on this. Then the second thing I encourage homeschoolers to do is to write down why you want to homeschool and how you think it will benefit your family. Right now you're about to get started. This why is pretty resonant with you. You're pretty passionate about it right now because you're just starting and you really believe you need to get started. So writing all this down is a really important step. Okay. A lot of times people will refer to your why maybe as your mission statement or your purpose. And every single family is unique. And so this whole why aspect is going to be individual to you and your family. Why you want to homeschool, why you feel it's a good fit for you, and why it's important at this time in your life. Writing it all down is important as well. Some people type it up, some people make it real pretty and frame it. It is important because there are going to be bad days. They're coming. It's just life. We all know that. It's realistic. And when you have a bad day and you think, oh my word, why did I ever do this? You can pull that out, and there's your previous self reminding your future self exactly why you did want to homeschool. And on the bad days, it can be very encouraging to read those big why statements or those purpose statements. So this is a bit of insurance I encourage everybody to do. All right. Then once you've got that why nailed down, you can dive into the how. How do you want to accomplish this? And again, this is a place where you really want to look at your individual homeschool family unit, because you're unique, and what will fit you might not fit your best friend or the lady you met last week at the homeschool support group. Everybody is different, and what will fit your family, what will motivate your family, what will keep your family happy in their homeschooling adventure is gonna be different than anybody else. Okay, so finding out how and why you want to homeschool is vital. This is a very important step. A lot of people just kind of skip over this step, but this is very important. This kind of guides what happens in the later steps that we're going to talk about. So what exactly is your how? Your how is the method that you will use to teach your children, the method that your children will use to learn. Okay. There are a lot of different methods these days. I'm just going to read through some of them really quick here, just to give you an idea. Of course, we have the traditional, or what we would call the school at home approach. And a lot of people that are new to homeschooling think that that's what is necessary, that we kind of break things down, we have a little school in our home. That doesn't always work for everybody. In fact, sometimes this can really cause mom or dad to burn out in the homeschool process because it's difficult to keep up that school standard in your home. And there's just a lot of factors that play into this. But there are some advantages as well. The advantages of this particular style is that usually the homeschool family can buy just a big box curriculum that they order for the entire grade. It's got everything in it, like a kit. They open it. This is what they do. You know exactly what to teach, when to teach it. You don't really have to think about it. But the disadvantage is that it requires a lot of work on the part of the parent teacher. And a lot of times the big box curriculums are pretty rigid and they follow a pretty tight schedule. Okay, another method would be the relaxed or eclectic method. And this is where, you know, a lot of homeschool families, after they've been in homeschooling for a year or two, they kind of get a little bit more confident. They branch out and they end up becoming what we kind of refer to as the eclectic homeschooler, which in reality, they take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this, and they bring it all together into this absolutely tailored, unique fitting method of homeschooling that is uniquely theirs. So eclectic brings bits and pieces of several things together to work for that particular homeschool family. All right, then we have the unschooling method. It's a natural, interest-led, child-led learning method. Unschoolers use a lot of everyday life experience. They do not focus on school schedules or formal lessons. They follow their interests. Like, for example, maybe your fifth grader is very interested in astronomy, and so they go and check out 5 or 6 books from the library. They build a scale model of the planets. They read all those books. They want to write about it. They get online and find videos. So it's kind of like exhaustive to a topic. And it's very fun for the learner because it's kind of like they get on a roll and they just really dig into it. The cool thing about it is that a lot of the unschooling method allows homeschool children to really have time to research and to dig into those things that really interest them. But the disadvantage is that sometimes they may not be right on grade level with certain things. Like, for example, if you're unschooling and you want to get back into regular formal school, it might be a little odd to align what you've done in your unschooling efforts to show the school that you've met everything that's necessary for them. But just throwing this out there, we do have a workshop on that session in our Back to Homeschool conference. If you want to, it's a free conference. You can register and access that at any time. But that is a really good workshop on unschooling and meeting your state and local requirements. But that's always an issue. That's always something that you got to keep your eye on. Classical homeschooling. It's existed since the Middle Ages, produced a lot of the great minds in history. The 5 tools of learning, they're known as the trivium. They're reason, record, research, relate, and rhetoric. So younger children begin with the first stage where they learn the 3 R's. The grammar stage is next, emphasizes like compositions and collections, and then the dialectic stage where there's more research, reading, and studying. There are a lot of really good homeschooling resources that focus on classical homeschooling. The Well-Trained Mind, Classical Conversations are just a few of them. They can really help you use this method in your homeschool. Charlotte Mason homeschooling also has become very popular in the last few years. And at its core is the belief that children are not mere containers waiting to be filled with knowledge, but persons in their own right deserving of respect. And so according to Charlotte Mason, children should be given time to play and create and be involved in real life situations where they can learn. There are a lot of nature walks, art museums. Children learn geography, history, and literature from what is referred to as living books. And in reality, these are storybooks or fiction books that make the subjects come alive. So they use very little, if any, textbooks. Instead, it's living books. There's a lot of great information on the Charlotte Mason teaching style, a lot of great homeschool curriculum companies now that are developed based on this method, which makes homeschooling the Charlotte Mason method very easy. There's Waldorf homeschooling, which is based on the work of Rudolf Steiner, and it stresses the importance of educating the whole child, body, mind, and spirit. So there's lots of emphasis on arts and crafts in the early years, music and movement, nature. It discourages the use of televisions and computers, a lot of different things there, but if you're interested in that, research it. Montessori homeschooling, I think we've all heard of that. That's kind of a popular preschool type setting, the Montessori preschool. But it emphasizes errorless learning where children kind of learn at their own pace, and in that develop to their full potential. So there's not the stressors or pressures of fitting the child into a predetermined box, or we could even say grade level or things like that. Let's see, multiple intelligences homeschooling. This was developed by Howard Gardner and Harvard University's Project Zero. It's the belief that everyone is intelligent in his or her own way, and that learning is easiest and most effective when it uses a person's strengths instead of weaknesses. And then there's also the unit study homeschooling method, where basically you use a series of unit studies or themed units, and you teach all of the subjects through those themes. And then a lot of people will use the deschooling method when they first begin, when they first unenroll from a traditional school. And with this, the deschooling method basically just takes a couple weeks off, kind of detoxes from that school mentality, and then slowly breaks into homeschooling, maybe one or two classes at a time, building up to a full schedule and getting into a homeschool schedule and sway thing of, just a basic habit situation. So deschooling is useful when you're coming from a school situation into homeschool. But if you have never schooled before and you're starting fresh, you may want to dig into some of these other approaches like Charlotte Mason, classical, or even traditional type homeschooling methods. All right, try to sum those up. We have an article on homeschool.com that really digs more into those and gives you separate lengthy articles on each one of those to help you understand them. And we also, as I mentioned in our screen here, we also have a convenient online diagnostic quiz that you can take, and I suggest you take it a few times, just because sometimes when we take these diagnostic quizzes, we end up overlapping and we may get two results, which is very common. If I took it right now, I would probably get 2 or 3 results because I claim to be an eclectic homeschooler. So take it a few times, kind of get an idea of what methods, ways to teach that you are leaning toward, and then dig in and research those, read more about them. They are right there on homeschool.com's homepage under the Getting Started menu nav. And you can dig in and read more about each one of those. All right, so then the next step is really getting to know your child. And I really encourage this before you buy anything for your homeschool. Do the last step, this step, get to know your child. What makes them tick? What do they like to do when they have to learn something? What do they turn to first? Do they turn to a book? Do they turn to something to write? Do they turn to a computer or technology? Take some time and learn about your child and all of these aspects. What methods of learning really motivate them? Do they like to draw and doodle while they're listening to things? There are so many things about our children that we often just overlook. We don't pay attention to. Maybe we just, oh, I never realized that before. But these little idiosyncrasies are things that motivate them, or they may be their strengths or some weaknesses. So digging into this and kind of take notes on what you see in each, and every child is going to be different. So if you have 2 or 3 kids, you're going to have a lot of different aspects with each one of those that you may want to cater to when you first set up your homeschool curriculum for the first time. Again, homeschool.com also has a convenient diagnostic quiz to help you figure out what their strengths and preferences for learning are. And you can take this at homeschool.com as well. If you can't find it, well, actually, it's very simple. It's right there in our Getting Started article. It's always on our homepage. And there's a little orange button that says, Take the Learning Preferences quiz. So nice and simple for you. Okay, so we've looked at how we want to homeschool, how our children learn. Then we can actually take a tangible step and start digging into what homeschool resources we need to buy. Okay, so I don't recommend you buying anything until you've done all your homework and gotten to this point. Okay, and then once you know how you want to homeschool and how your children learn and their preferences and all that good stuff, then you're armed with the knowledge to help you find the right curriculum. So often homeschool parents will just jump straight to buying a curriculum because my neighbor said it was the best one. No, your neighbor is not you. Your neighbor is not your family or your children with your unique needs. You need to figure that out. You need to take time and do your homework. All right, so finding a curriculum. It is a big step because if you just do what somebody else says, it may not fit. And then you could spend a year using a curriculum that you don't enjoy. And I really don't recommend that. So take the time and do it right. Homeschool.com also has a great tool to help you with this. It is called our Curriculum Finder. And basically what you do once you've done your homework that we just talked about, you've taken those 2 diagnostic quizzes and you know what homeschool methods you like and you know what motivates your children. So you know basically my child really loves textbooks. So we're going to go with a text-based curriculum. Those things help you then go to the Curriculum Finder tool and enter in, say, for example, I want a Charlotte Mason curriculum. That is text-based for my 3rd grader. You enter those things in and it pulls you up all the curriculum that matches your needs. Pretty awesome. Narrows it down because there are thousands of homeschool resources out there and it can be mind-boggling. All right. So now you've seen how that's a practical way to find your homeschool curriculum. Now, I'm not saying don't listen to what other people say. It is good to get feedback from homeschoolers that have homeschooled for a long time, recommended curriculums. That's great. Attend homeschool conventions because you can go and you can put your hands on the curriculum. You can open it and look at it. You know, you may look at a curriculum and think, oh my word, this is ugly. It's black and white. I don't want to use this. Or you might open a curriculum and say, oh, this is the most beautiful curriculum I've ever seen. I absolutely love it. I know my child will love it. And you purchase it. You know, it's so useful to go to homeschool conventions and often they will give you discounts. But the thing is, homeschool conventions usually take place during the summer months before school starts. So get in on that. Also, if you miss a homeschool convention, go to the website of the curriculum that you're considering and ask them for free samples or free trial before you buy. That's a really important step. That way you and your children can actually get hands-on and see if it is something you like, something you hate, something that you may want or not want to use. So also very, very important recommendation there. Try it out. Okay, then the next thing that we're talking about is planning your homeschool year. Also very, very important because we've got to have a plan. We have to have goals. We have to aim for something or we're not going to hit anything in our efforts. And so having a purpose is so very important. I do want to move my little face here because I want everybody to see this little message I have at the bottom of my screen. Discover these and other amazing homeschool planners for free on homeschool.com. So let's look at the examples that I put up here. When we plan our homeschool year, I always encourage parents to sit down and think about the big picture. All right, look at the whole year. When do you want to start? When do you want to be finished by? And do you have any vacations or days off that you want to take within the year? Mark those on your calendar. So there you've planned your basic year. Then I want you to think about any big goals that you have for the year, any huge things that you want to accomplish this year, and write those down. You don't need anything fancy for that, although in most of our planners we have a page for your yearly goals as well. I didn't pull a screenshot in here of that, but so you know what you want to accomplish for the year. Maybe you know that this year your middle school student needs to dig into physical science. So that's your goal. Or maybe you know with your elementary students that you really need to work on some character training and specific character training lessons. Or you want to be more faithful in having Bible time every morning. Whatever that is, put those down as your big yearly goals. And then from there, you see these pretty cool examples I've put here. We have quarterly goals. We have monthly goals. And then we have a weekly plan and then a daily plan. All right. So you kind of see how it trickles down. We've written out our big year goals. And then from there, we want to break it down into quarters. All right. How many quarters are in our year of homeschooling? 4. All right. So we'll have 4 sheets of the quarterly goals. In the first quarter, what do I want to focus on? I could divide my year into the 4 quarters. So if I said I need to work on some character training. So the first quarter, I'm going to work on this and this character. Second quarter, this and this character. Third quarter, this and this. And fourth quarter, this and this. So you just break it down and you write it. You don't have to write sentences. You can just write words. Make it real simple. Then your monthly goals, take those quarterly goals. So if you've got quarters, it just depends. Some people homeschool year round. Some people just homeschool for 9 or 10 months. So then you just break that quarter down into months. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 months or 4 months that the quarter ends up being. Actually, the most it could be would be 3, excuse me. So 2 or 3 months, and write out what you want to study for that month. It's super simple. Make it simple. You don't have to write paragraphs. You don't have to write tons of information. A couple words. Sum it up because it's for you. It's not for anyone else. And then you have your weekly plan. And this I use mostly for myself. When my kids were all really little, I had it kind of divided by child. So you can see there's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little boxes. I would use each box for each child. And of course, there were subjects that we did all together. And like for those, of course, I knew Bible and what I wanted to do. Sometimes I would just put math lesson 5 or history, read pages 30 through 40. I mean, it's super simple. Just let me have an incremental guideline of what I needed to do for this week and what this child needed to do. Now, as they got older, they began to do these little weekly plans on their own. But when they were younger, I did my weekly plan. Then I came over here to my daily checklist. And for each of my kids, I made them a checklist. Basically, it was for a week because I used one sheet of paper for the whole week for each student. And I wrote down, for example, I wrote down Bible. We did that all together. So they really didn't have to track that except give themselves a check mark. Then for math, I would write math lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they would check off for each day that they did it. History, I would say maybe we needed to read for the entire week. We need to read from page 20 all the way through page 50. Now, as my kids got a little bit older, still in elementary school, they could decide how much they wanted to read in a day. So if they got real industrious and they wanted to take a couple days off, they could work real hard, 3 days, get all that work done, check it off, and then maybe take history off on Thursday and Friday. I let them determine that. But this checklist was basically what I needed from them by Friday every week, and worked really well. I could put down their extracurricular activities, like when they had any sports practice or music lessons. And that kind of kept us straight, which was very helpful for our family of 8 when they were all little. All right. And then the last page I wanted to talk about with y'all is keep good homeschooling records. It really is important. I know a lot of people think, oh, we're homeschooling. What does it matter if my state does not require me to turn in grades? Why do I need to do this? Well, sometimes your student will do better if they have feedback. Sometimes it will motivate them. It depends on the student, of course. But I took kind of a sampling of input from some of our different community people. There were a few people that had some comments about this. So a gradebook is very useful for the homeschool mom to keep track of things. We have a digital gradebook for free on homeschool.com, as well as this printed one that you see. It comes in some of our planners. One mother, Amanda, says, I don't give tests and quizzes in elementary school. And I know a lot of homeschool parents that don't. In fact, I didn't really. I maybe did a handful every year just so that they would be in practice. So it wasn't huge. However, I did keep grades because at the end of the year, I was going to have to assign a letter grade on that final permanent record for my child. So I did keep grades, and it was really subjective. Do they understand what they're learning, what I'm teaching? And I'm their teacher, so I know every single day if they're understanding it. And so I would keep grades of their understanding and comprehension. Secondly, report cards. Now, a lot of people don't do report cards, and that's fine. It is not required unless your state requires it. However, there are some benefits of doing a report card. I know this lady, Susan, let us know that she does a report card because there are some fun awards and things that your child can receive by showing their report card. There are some really great amusement parks will often offer grade reward discounts or even a free ticket to the amusement park for certain grades. The Pizza Hut bucket system, they offered pizza for good grades. There were a lot of fun benefits for having a report card. And then of course, if your homeschool students play sports, they will want to see a report card. So there it is. We also offer a digital report card on homeschool.com, as well as some basic report cards that you can use and download. And then finally, the transcript. As your child gets older, the transcript becomes a little bit more important. Now, for me, when my children were younger, at the end of every year, I did keep final grades. So kind of more like that permanent record idea. But then when they got into high school, it became this official transcript. And so with that, you want to record not just their grades, but you want to have good course descriptions. You want to record volunteer activities. You want to record leadership activities, any extracurriculars that they're involved in, sports, fun things like that. And of course, if your student, it becomes a intern or does an apprenticeship or does dual enrollment, that needs notated on here as well. And you can see here 2 comments from Lou and Carl. Lou says that she records everything her teens do from volunteering to sports for their transcripts. And then Carl mentions that he adds to his teens transcript after each semester so he doesn't forget what they've done. And that is a really good idea. I have to admit that I've forgotten and I have not added to the transcript sometimes in a year. And so then I'm stuck at the end of the year trying to remember what they've done for an entire year. And that's not real good with my memory. So if you try to complete it at the end of every semester, that's very helpful in making sure that you don't forget something really important for your transcripts. All right, so those are our basic 6 steps, and every step of the way, if you go to homeschool.com, click on our How to Get Started article and go over these 6 steps, and under each of the 6 steps, there are extenuating articles or principles that will help you accomplish that step. So you have the tools that you need at your fingertips to do these things. It's not difficult. There are a lot of people that have done it before you. It does not require a master's degree or even a college degree in the least bit. Basic skills and consistency, and you've got it. So I appreciate everybody joining us today. I just want to encourage you. I know for the new homeschoolers that you might be nervous about this, but I just want to say you can homeschool. You can do it. And, if you have questions or concerns, we are always here for you at homeschool.com. You can shoot us an email or hop on one of our social channels and ask us a question, and we'll be sure to get back to you as soon as possible. So here's to your best year of homeschooling yet.